The transport ship shook as it broke through the ice clouds of Vex's Lar. Jiwoo pressed her face against the small window, watching the frozen world grow larger below. Everything was white and blue, like someone had forgotten to add any other colors when making this planet. She had seen pictures before coming here, but pictures could not capture how cold it looked. Even from space, she could feel the chill in her bones. The research station sat in a valley between two massive glaciers. It looked tiny against the endless ice fields, like a small metal box someone had dropped and forgotten. Jiwoo pulled her thermal jacket tighter around herself. The jacket was thick and warm, made with the best human technology. It could keep a person alive in temperatures that would freeze water in seconds. She was glad to have it. The landing was rough. The ship's pilot, a quiet man named Dae-hyun, apologized as they touched down with a hard thump. He would be her commander here, responsible for the whole station. He had a serious face and tired eyes, the kind that came from too many years in deep space. "Welcome to the coldest place you will ever work," Dae-hyun said as the door opened. A blast of freezing air hit Jiwoo like a physical wall. Her breath turned to fog instantly. Even with the jacket, she felt the cold trying to find ways inside. The station was warmer, but not by much. Jiwoo met Subin, the medical officer, who became friendly immediately. Subin had been here for 2 years already and knew everything about the station and the aliens they studied. "The Velkari are beautiful creatures," Subin explained over hot tea in the common room. "But they are dying. Their planet is getting colder every year. What used to be forests are now ice fields. Their thick fur kept them warm for thousands of years, but it is not enough anymore." Jiwoo had come here to study the Velkari and help find solutions. She was a xenobiologist, someone who studied alien life. But she had never actually met a Velkari in person. All her research had been from videos and data files. Tomorrow, that would change. Except tomorrow came sooner than expected. An alarm woke Jiwoo in the middle of her first night. She stumbled out of bed, confused and cold. Subin was already running down the hallway. "They are here early," Subin shouted. "The Velkari cubs. Something is wrong." Jiwoo followed her friend to the medical bay. The doors opened, and she saw them for the first time. 3 small aliens stood close together near the entrance. They looked like a mix between cats and something reptilian, with thick fur covering their bodies and large eyes that reflected the station lights. Their fur was colored in patterns of silver and gray. Beautiful and strange. But what caught Jiwoo's attention was how they moved. They were shivering. Behind them stood a tall Velkari adult. This was Elder Kolveth, the matriarch Subin had told her about. The elder's fur was darker, almost black, with streaks of white around her face. She spoke in her own language, which the station's computer translated. "The youngest is sick. The cold has reached her core. Please help." The smallest cub, barely reaching Jiwoo's waist, was shaking harder than the others. Her eyes were half closed, and she made small sounds of distress. The other 2 cubs pressed against her, trying to share their warmth, but it was not enough. Subin immediately went to work, scanning the cubs with medical equipment. Jiwoo stood back, not wanting to be in the way, but she could not stop watching them. Even inside the station, they were cold. The heating system was set for human comfort, around 20 degrees. For the Velkari, who needed much higher temperatures, it might as well have been outside. The eldest cub noticed Jiwoo staring. She had bright green eyes that seemed far too old for her small face. She tilted her head, studying the human with careful attention. "You are the new one," the computer translated. The cub's voice was soft and musical. "The one who studies life." Yes," Jiwoo said. "My name is Jiwoo. What is your name?" "I am Hana, this is Teo, and the small one is Yuna." Hana pointed to her siblings with a clawed hand. "Yuna is very cold. She has been cold for many days." Jiwoo's heart broke a little. The way Hana said it was so matter-of-fact, like being cold all the time was normal. Maybe for them, It was. Subin worked quickly, giving Yuna warming injections and wrapping her in thermal blankets. But the shivering continued. The cub's body temperature was too low, and it was not rising fast enough. The blankets are not working well, Subin said quietly to Jiwoo. Her body is rejecting the artificial heat. She needs something natural. Something living. Jiwoo looked at the three cubs huddled together. She looked at her jacket, and she did not think. She just acted. She took off her thermal jacket and knelt down beside Yuna. The cub looked up at her with frightened eyes. Jiwoo smiled gently and wrapped the jacket around the small alien's body. The jacket was still warm from Jiwoo's body heat, heated by her own living warmth. The effect was immediate. Yuna stopped shivering. Her eyes opened wider, and a small sound came from her throat. It sounded like a purr. Everyone in the room stared at Jiwoo. Subin's mouth hung open. Elder Kolveth's eyes widened. Even Daehyun, who had just arrived, stood frozen in the doorway. "Are you crazy?" Daehyun finally said. "That jacket costs more than your yearly salary. And you need it. This planet will kill you without proper gear." Jiwoo did not look at him. She kept her eyes on Yuna, watching the cub's breathing become steady and calm. "She needed it more than me right now." Teo and Hana moved closer, drawn to the warmth radiating from the jacket. They touched it gently with their small claws, feeling the soft material and the heat trapped inside. Their eyes showed wonder, like they had never felt something so warm and comfortable. Elder Kolveth made a sound in her throat. The computer did not translate it, but Jiwoo thought it might have been surprise or maybe respect. "The human gives warmth to those not her own," the elder said slowly. "This is unexpected." Jiwoo finally stood up and immediately felt the cold of the station. Without her jacket, she was just in her thin uniform shirt. Goosebumps rose on her arms, but when she looked at Yuna, snuggled in the jacket with color returning to her face, Jiwoo knew she had made the right choice. "They are just children," Jiwoo said simply. "Cold children who needed help." Subin handed her a regular blanket, shaking her head with a small smile. "Maybe both," Jiwoo admitted. The three cubs did not leave the jacket all night. They took turns, passing it between themselves carefully. First, Yuna wore it the longest, because she was the sickest. Then Tayo took a turn, and finally Hana. But they always made sure Yuna had it back when she started shivering again. Jiwoo watched them share the warmth, and something deep in her chest felt full and right. She did not know it yet, but everything had changed with that one simple act. The warmth she gave would spread far beyond this one night, beyond this one station, beyond anything she could imagine, all because she gave away her jacket. Morning came slowly on Vexlar. The planet's sun was weak and far away, giving light but almost no warmth. Jiwoo woke up cold and stiff in her quarters. She had slept under 3 regular blankets, but they were nothing compared to her thermal jacket. She missed it already, but then she remembered Yuna's face when the warmth had wrapped around her, the way the little cub had stopped shivering and finally looked peaceful. That memory made the cold easier to bear. Jiwoo dressed quickly and headed to the medical bay. She expected to find the cubs sleeping, maybe still huddled together under her jacket. Instead, she found all 3 of them, awake and active. Yuna was standing on her own, looking much stronger than last night. The jacket was currently wrapped around Teo, who sat in the corner examining a datapad with curious eyes. "Good morning," Hana said when she saw Jiwoo. The eldest cub had learned to use the translator well. "Yuna is better. Your warmth healed her." "I am glad," Jiwoo said, smiling. The smallest cub looked up and made a happy chirping sound. She ran over to Jiwoo and pressed her furry head against the human's leg. It was clearly a gesture of affection. Jiwoo reached down and gently petted Yuna's head. The fur was incredibly soft, like touching a cloud. Subin entered the medical bay with breakfast. She had brought extra for the cubs, along with Elder Kolveth, who had stayed at the station overnight. The cubs are doing well, Subin reported. Body temperatures are stable. I think they can return to their colony today if the weather holds. But Jiwoo noticed something strange as the hours passed. The cubs kept moving her jacket around between themselves. It was not random. There was a pattern to it. Yuna wore the jacket for exactly 1 hour. Then she carefully took it off and brought it to Teo. He wore it for 1 hour, then passed it to Hana. Hana wore it, then gave it back to Yuna, over and over, in the same order, the same amount of time. Why do they do that? Jiwoo asked Elder Kolveth during lunch. Why do they share the jacket that way? The elder's eyes showed something that might have been approval. It is our way. The first law we teach our young. When there is warmth, everyone must have their turn. When there is food, everyone eats. When there is shelter, everyone rests. We share equally, or we do not survive. Jiwoo thought about that. On Earth, humans often hoarded resources. They kept things for themselves, afraid there would not be enough. But the Valkyrie had learned something different. In a world as cold as theirs, selfishness meant death. The Warmth Keeper shares first, Elder Kolveth continued. So we share what the Warmth Keeper gives. This is respect. This is survival. Warmth Keeper? Jiwoo asked. You kept warmth when you had little. You gave it to cubs, not of your blood. This makes you a Warmth Keeper. It is what we call those who protect the young of the clan. Jiwoo felt her face grow warm, and not from any jacket. She had not thought of it as anything special. It had just seemed like the right thing to do. Daehyun came to the medical bay in the afternoon. His face was serious, more than usual. He asked to speak with Jiwoo privately. They went to his office, a small room filled with screens and reports. What you did last night was dangerous, Daehyun said once the door closed. That jacket is critical survival equipment. If there had been an emergency, if you had needed to go outside, you would have died. But there was no emergency, Jiwoo replied. There could have been. This is a first contact situation, Jiwoo. We have to be careful. We cannot let emotions control our actions. We cannot get too attached to the species we study. Jiwoo felt anger rising in her chest. They were cold. They are children. What was I supposed to do? Watch them suffer because of protocol? Yes, Daehyun said flatly. If protocol requires it. Our mission is to observe and document, not to interfere. They asked for our help. Elder Kolveth brought them here. We did not interfere. We responded. Daehyun rubbed his tired eyes. I know you mean well, but this is my station, and I am responsible for everyone's safety. That includes you. Please be more careful. Jiwoo left the office feeling frustrated. She understood Daehyun's concerns, but she could not agree with him. Sometimes rules had to bend for the right reasons. Sometimes being human meant being kind, not just being safe. She found Subin in the common room and told her everything. Daehyun is not a bad person, Subin said thoughtfully. He is just scared. He lost a researcher 2 years ago. Before I arrived. An accident during an ice storm. Since then, he follows every rule exactly. He thinks if he had followed protocol better, that person would still be alive. That information made Jiwoo see her commander differently. Fear and guilt could make people rigid. She could not be angry at him for that. That evening, Jiwoo returned to her quarters early. She was exhausted and cold. Without her jacket, the station felt much colder than before. She wrapped herself in blankets and tried to sleep. A sound woke her. Scratching at her door, Jiwoo opened it and gasped. All 3 cubs stood outside, with her jacket spread across their backs like a shared blanket. They looked up at her with wide eyes. What are you doing here? Jiwoo asked. Where is Elder Kolveth? She sleeps, Hana said. We wanted to be here. Near you. The warmth keeper should not be cold. Jiwoo's throat felt tight. They had noticed she was cold. They had brought her jacket back to her. But you need it, Jiwoo said. We share, Teo said simply. That is the way. Yuna pushed past Jiwoo's legs and walked into the quarters. The other two followed. Before Jiwoo could say anything, they had arranged themselves in a pile on her bed. Yuna was in the middle, Teo and Hana on either side. The jacket was spread over all of them. We keep each other warm tonight, Hana announced. All of us, together. This is better than taking turns. Jiwoo did not know what to say. She looked at the three small aliens who had decided she was part of their warmth-sharing circle. Part of their family, in a way. She climbed onto the bed carefully, not wanting to disturb them. But immediately, the cubs rearranged themselves. Yuna climbed onto Jiwoo's lap. Teo pressed against her left side. Hana leaned on her right. The jacket was pulled over. Everyone. And then, the cubs began to purr. It was not like a cat's purr from Earth. This was deeper, stronger, vibrating through their whole bodies. Jiwoo could feel it in her chest, in her bones. It was soothing and warm, like a gentle massage from the inside. We make warmth this way, Hana explained sleepily. The purring moves the blood faster, creates heat. We do it for each other. Now, we do it for you. Jiwoo felt tears in her eyes. She wrapped her arms around the cubs, feeling their soft fur and steady breathing. They were so small and brave, living on a planet that was trying to kill them. But they had not become bitter or selfish. They had learned to share, to care for each other, to survive together. Thank you, Jiwoo whispered. The cubs purred louder, and the warmth grew. In his office, Dae-hyun checked the station cameras and saw the scene in Jiwoo's quarters. He stared at the screen for a long time. Then he made a note in his report. Researcher Jiwoo has established unprecedented bonding with Velkari juveniles. Recommend continued observation. But what he thought privately was different. He thought maybe, just maybe, protocol did not have all the answers. Maybe sometimes the best thing a human could do was exactly what Jiwoo had done. Give warmth freely and trust that it would return. Elder Kolveth also saw the cubs through a small camera she carried. She made no move to retrieve them. Instead, she contacted the other clan leaders back in the colony. The human is different, she told them. She has the heart of a warmth keeper. I think we can trust them. I think we can trust her. The cold night passed, but inside Jiwoo's quarters, everyone was warm. The cubs took turns being closest to Jiwoo, making sure everyone had equal time in the warmest spot. Even in sleep, they followed their rules of sharing. Jiwoo learned something important that night. Warmth was not just about temperature. It was about connection, trust, and caring for others even when you had little to give. The jacket had started this, but the real warmth came from something deeper. It came from hearts deciding to beat together against the cold. And once that kind of warmth started, it did not stop. It only grew stronger. The warning came at dawn. Jiwoo was still asleep, with the cubs curled around her when the station alarms began to scream. Red lights flashed in every corridor. The sound was designed to wake everyone instantly, and it worked. All personnel to emergency stations. Dae-hyun's voice came through the speakers. Ice storm approaching. This is not a drill. Storm Category 5. All personnel to emergency stations now. The cubs woke up frightened, making distressed sounds. Jiwoo tried to calm them while pulling on her boots. Subin burst through the door, already in full emergency gear. We have maybe 20 minutes before it hits, Subin said quickly. The weather sensors show it is massive. Biggest storm in 5 years. We need to get everyone to the shelter. What about Elder Kolveth and the cubs? Jiwoo asked. The elder is already being escorted to the visitor shelter. I will take the cubs to her now. Subin reached for Hana, but the cub backed away. All 3 cubs pressed closer to Jiwoo, clearly afraid. It is okay, Jiwoo told them gently. Subin will take you somewhere safe. We stay with you, Yuna said in her small voice. You are Warmth Keeper. There was no time to argue. Subin grabbed Hana and Teo, one under each arm. I will come back for Yuna. Get to your emergency station, Jiwoo. That is an order. Subin ran out with the two older cubs. Yuna tried to follow, but Jiwoo caught her. I will take you to your mother, Elder. Come on. But when Jiwoo tried to leave her quarters, the corridor was chaos. People were running everywhere. The station shook as the first winds hit the outer walls. The temperature was already dropping. Jiwoo could see her breath in the air. She ran toward the visitor shelter with Yuna in her arms. The small cub was surprisingly heavy, solid muscle under all that fur. But Jiwoo did not put her down. The floor was becoming slick with ice forming from the rapid temperature drop. They were halfway there when the power failed. Emergency lights came on, dim and red. Then those failed too. Complete darkness filled the station. Jiwoo stopped running. She could not see anything. Her heart pounded. She heard Yuna whimpering against her chest. It is okay, Jiwoo whispered, though she was not sure it was true. We will be okay. She felt along the wall, trying to remember the way to the visitor shelter. But in the dark, every corridor felt the same. She took a turn, then another. Nothing looked familiar in the red emergency lights that flickered on and off. A sound came from nearby. Crying. Jiwoo followed it and found Teo and Hana huddled against a wall. They were alone. Where is Subin? Jiwoo asked. She fell, Hana said. The floor was ice. She said to wait here, but she did not come back. The station shook violently. The storm was directly above them now. Jiwoo heard metal groaning, the sound of ice hitting the outer walls like bullets. The temperature had dropped to 0 and was falling fast. Jiwoo made a decision. She could not find the visitor shelter in the dark. She could not find her own emergency station with 3 cubs to carry. But she remembered passing the survival pods on her first day, small emergency shelters designed for 1 person each, with independent power and heating. There was one just down this corridor. She was almost sure of it. Come on, she told the cubs. Hold on to my clothes, and do not let go. They moved together in the darkness. Jiwoo, feeling along the wall with one hand while carrying Yuna. Hana and Teo gripped her jacket and pants, following close behind. The temperature was now 5 degrees below 0. Jiwoo's face hurt from the cold. Her fingers were going numb. The cubs were shivering again, even with their thick fur. Then she found it. The survival pod door. Jiwoo pressed her hand against the biometric scanner, praying it still had power. A small light blinked green. The door opened. The pod was tiny, barely 2 meters across. It was designed for 1 adult human to survive for 72 hours. There were emergency supplies, a small heating unit, and just enough room to lie down. Jiwoo pushed all 3 cubs inside first. Then she squeezed in after them and sealed the door. The lock engaged with a solid thunk. They were safe from the storm outside, but inside the small space, it was still dangerously cold. The heating unit hummed to life, but weakly. The storm must have damaged the main power grid. The unit was running on backup batteries, and those were not meant to heat a space with 4 bodies for long. Jiwoo looked at the 3 cubs. They were pressed together in the corner, shaking from cold and fear. Yuna was crying softly. Teo had his eyes closed tight. Hana was trying to be brave, but Jiwoo could see the fear in her eyes. The jacket. Jiwoo still had her thermal jacket on. She took it off and spread it over the cubs like a blanket. They huddled under it immediately, seeking its warmth, but it was not enough. The temperature in the pod was barely above freezing. The heating unit was failing. In a few hours, they would all have hypothermia. The cubs would die first. Despite their fur, Then Ji-woo would follow. Unless they shared warmth. Real warmth. Body heat. Come here, Ji-woo said softly. She sat against the wall and opened her arms. Like last night. We keep each other warm. Yuna understood first. She climbed onto Ji-woo's lap, curling into a ball against the human's chest. Teo pressed against Ji-woo's left side, his head on her shoulder. Hana settled on the right, tucking herself under Ji-woo's arm. Ji-woo pulled the jacket over all of them, wrapping it as tightly as possible. Then she wrapped her arms around the cubs, holding them close. Purr, she whispered to them. Like you did last night. Make the warmth. The cubs began to purr. The deep vibration filled the small pod. Ji-woo felt it in her chest, spreading through her body. It was like having a gentle heater pressed against her. The cub's body temperature was naturally higher than humans, and the purring made it even warmer. Hours passed. The storm raged outside. The pod shook and groaned. Several times, Ji-woo thought they would be torn from the station and thrown into the ice fields. But the pod held. The heating unit failed completely after 2 hours. The temperature inside dropped again. Ji-woo felt the cold creeping in, trying to find gaps in their combined warmth. She held the cubs tighter. Yuna had stopped shivering. That was bad. It meant she was getting too cold. Ji-woo adjusted her position, making sure Yuna was pressed directly against her chest where it was warmest. She rubbed the small cub's back, trying to keep blood moving. Teo's purring was getting weaker. Ji-woo talked to him, keeping him awake. Tell me about your home. Tell me about your colony. Teo spoke in a sleepy voice, describing ice caves and underground gardens where the Valkyrie grew their food. He talked about his friends and the games they played. His voice kept him alert, kept him fighting the cold. Hana stayed quiet but alert. She watched Ji-woo carefully, learning. This cub understood what the human was doing, sacrificing her own comfort to keep them alive. Hana pressed closer, trying to share her warmth back. You are a good warmth keeper, Hana whispered. The best we could ask for. Ji-woo's eyes filled with tears. She was so cold. Her hands and feet had gone numb. Her face felt frozen. But the cubs were alive. They were still breathing, still purring, still warm enough to survive. That was all that mattered. She did not know how long they stayed like that. Time became meaningless in the dark pod. There was only the storm outside, the purring of the cubs, and the shared warmth between 4 beings who should have been strangers, but had become family. Eventually, the storm sounds changed. The violence decreased. The shaking stopped. The worst had passed. Ji-woo wanted to sleep. She was so tired. But she knew that if she slept now, she might not wake up. She had to stay alert until someone found them. A sound came from outside the pod. Banging. Then a voice. Ji-woo? Are you in there? Subin. The door opened, and light flooded in. Subin stood there, with Elder Kolveth and Dae-hyun. They all stared at the scene inside the pod. Ji-woo sat against the wall, 3 cubs piled on her. The thermal jacket wrapped around all of them. Her lips were blue. Her skin was pale. But she was smiling. The cubs, Ji-woo said through chattering teeth. Are they okay? Subin quickly scanned them with a medical device. They are fine. Perfect temperature. Perfect health. Then, she scanned Ji-woo, and her face went white. You have hypothermia. Mild, but you need treatment now. Dae-hyun carefully lifted the cubs off Ji-woo. They did not want to leave her, making distressed sounds. Elder Kolveth took them gently, speaking in their language. Calming them, Subin wrapped Ji-woo in thermal blankets and gave her a warming injection. Within minutes, Ji-woo started to feel better. The color returned to her face. Valenty Pass. Valant, boss. You saved them, Dae-hyun said quietly. His voice was different now, softer. When I saw you were not at your emergency station, I thought you were dead. We all did. I could not leave them, Jiwoo said simply. They needed me. Elder Kolveth approached, still holding Yuna. The small cub reached out toward Jiwoo, wanting to be close again. The elder's eyes showed deep emotion. You protected cubs that were not yours. You gave your warmth when you had little to spare. You are Kreshvara. You are Warmth Keeper in truth. The elder bowed her head in respect. My people will remember this forever. Jiwoo just nodded, too tired to speak. But inside, she felt something important had happened. Not just surviving a storm. Something deeper. A connection had formed that would never break. The cubs had taught her about sharing. Now, she had taught them about protection. About how far someone would go for those they cared about. They were family now. In every way, that mattered. News traveled fast. Within 3 days, every Velkari in the colony knew about the human who had protected 3 cubs during the Great Storm. The story was told and retold, growing each time. Some said Jiwoo had fought the storm itself to keep the cubs safe. Others said she had turned her own body into a living furnace. The truth was simpler but somehow more powerful. She had just held them, shared her warmth, refused to let them face the cold alone. Jiwoo spent those 3 days recovering in the medical bay. Subin insisted on monitoring her, worried about lasting effects from the hypothermia. But Jiwoo felt fine. More than fine, actually. She felt purposeful in a way she never had before. The cubs visited her every day. They brought her things from their colony. Drawings they had made showing the 4 of them huddled together in the pod. Jiwoo treasured each gift. On the 4th day, Elder Kolveth returned to the station. But she was not alone. She brought 12 other Velkari with her, all adults with the same dignified bearing. These were the clan matriarchs, the leaders of the entire Velkari society. Daehyun was nervous. He called an emergency meeting of all station personnel and asked Jiwoo to attend. She walked into the main conference room and found it filled with Velkari on one side and humans on the other. The 2 groups watched each other carefully. Elder Kolveth stood at the head of the room. We come with an important request. A proposal that will change both our peoples. Daehyun nodded stiffly. We are listening. First, I must speak of what has happened. Your human, Jiwoo, has done something we did not think possible. She gave warmth to cubs not her own. She protected them at risk to herself. She embodied what we call Kreshvara, a word you translate as warmth keeper. The other matriarchs made sounds of agreement. A humming that filled the room. In our culture, Kreshvara is the highest honor. It is given to those who protect the young of the clan, who give warmth freely, who understand that we survive together, or not at all. No outsider has ever been named Kreshvara. Until now. Elder Kolveth approached Jiwoo directly. She held something in her clawed hands. It was a woven band, made from silver and white fur, with small ice crystals embedded in it. Jiwoo, human of Earth, we name you Kreshvara, Warmth Keeper, Mother of the Cold. You are now part of our clan. This is your mark. The elder placed the band around Jiwoo's wrist. It was warm to the touch, heated by the Velkari's natural body temperature. Jiwoo felt tears on her face, but did not wipe them away. I do not know what to say. Thank you. This is a great honor. The honor is ours, another matriarch said. You have shown us that warmth exists beyond our people, that the universe is not as cold as we thought. Elder Kolveth returned to the center of the room. Now we come to our request. We wish to establish permanent exchange with humans. We wish to learn from you, work with you, and share our world with you. Daehyun looked surprised. We would welcome such an arrangement. Our mission is to build relationships with new species. Daehyun, there is more, Elder Kolveth said. 3 of our young have made a request of their own. Hana, Teo, and Yuna wish to stay here, under the care of Jiwoo. They wish her to be their warmth keeper in truth, their foster parent, while our peoples learned to work together. The room went silent. Ji-woo felt like she could not breathe. She looked at the cubs, who stood near the door. They watched her, with hopeful eyes. That is a huge responsibility, Dae-hyun said carefully. Ji-woo is a researcher. She has duties, work to complete. We understand, Elder Kolveth said. But the cubs have chosen. In our culture, when young ones choose their warmth keeper, we do not deny them. It means they have found someone they trust completely. Someone who makes them feel safe. Subin leaned close to Ji-woo and whispered, "What do you want to do?" Ji-woo looked at her friend. "I am a xenobiologist. I came here to study alien life. I never thought about being a parent. I do not know if I can do this." "You already have been doing it," Subin said gently. "You gave away your jacket. You held them through a storm. You protected them with your own life. That is what parents do." Ji-woo thought about it. She thought about Yuna's small face pressed against her chest, about Taeo's curiosity and endless questions, about Hana's brave attempts to be strong. They had become important to her, more important than she had realized. She stood up and walked to the cubs. Yuna ran to her immediately, pressing against her legs. Taeo and Hana followed more slowly, but their eyes showed the same hope. "Is this really what you want?" Ji-woo asked them. "Yes," Hana said firmly. "You are our warmth keeper. We feel safe with you. We trust you." "I will not always know what to do," Ji-woo warned. "I will make mistakes." "That is okay," Taeo said. "We will help you learn. We share. That is our way." Yuna just hugged Ji-woo's leg tighter, which was answer enough. Ji-woo turned back to Elder Kolveth. "I accept. On one condition. I want to continue my research. I want to help find solutions to your climate crisis. I want to do everything I can to make sure these cubs, and all Valkyrie young, have a future." The matriarchs hummed again, louder this time. It sounded like approval. "That is why we chose you," Elder Kolveth said. "You do not just give warmth for today. You think about the warmth of tomorrow. You are exactly the kind of warmth keeper our cubs need." Dae-hyun cleared his throat. "If we are going to do this properly, we will need to adjust station protocols, expand living quarters, modify the heating systems, set up educational programs. We will help," another matriarch offered. "We have engineers and builders. We can work together." And just like that, everything changed. What had been a small research station became the foundation for something bigger. A real partnership between two species. Over the next week, plans were made. The Valkyrie would send permanent representatives to the station. Humans would visit the colony below. Technology would be shared. Knowledge would be exchanged. Ji-woo's quarters were expanded into a small family space. The cubs moved in officially, bringing their few possessions. They showed Ji-woo how to make proper sleeping nests, how to prepare Valkyrie food, how to recognize when they needed warmth versus when they needed space. On the evening of their first official day as a family, Hana presented Ji-woo with a gift. It was another woven wrap, like the Kreshvara band, but much larger, big enough to wear as a shawl or cloak. "This is made from fur that every family in our colony gave," Hana explained. "When we heard what you did, they all wanted to be part of thanking you. They shed some fur and wove it together." Ji-woo wrapped the soft fabric around herself. It was incredibly warm, warmer even than her thermal jacket, and it smelled like the cubs, like their colony, like home. "It is beautiful. Thank you. Now you have given us your warmth," Taeo said. "And we give you ours. This is balanced. This is right." That night, they all slept in the new sleeping nest. It was larger than a human bed, filled with soft materials that held heat. The cubs piled on top of Ji-woo, purring gently. The new fur wrap covered everyone. Ji-woo lay awake for a while, thinking about how much her life had changed. She had come to this frozen planet to study aliens from a distance. Instead, she had become a mother to 3 of them. She had come to observe a dying species. Instead, she had become part of their hope for survival. "Are you happy?" Yuna asked sleepily. "Yes," Jiwoo said, and realized it was completely true. "I am very happy." "Good," Yuna murmured. "Warmth keepers should be happy. Because then, the warmth spreads better." Jiwoo smiled in the darkness. Such simple wisdom from such a small being. The cubs had taught her so much already. About sharing. About community. About what really mattered in life. Her jacket hung on the wall, cleaned and repaired. She would always keep it, but not because she needed it for warmth anymore. She would keep it as a reminder of the moment everything changed. The moment she learned that the greatest warmth came not from technology or climate control, but from hearts deciding to beat together against the cold. Outside, the ice planet continued its endless winter. But inside, a new kind of warmth was growing. The kind that would spread across worlds. The kind that would change everything. All because one human gave away her jacket, and 3 cubs taught her what warmth really meant. 6 months changed everything. The research station that Jiwoo had first seen as a small metal box in the ice was now a thriving colony. New buildings had been constructed. Half human design and half Velkari architecture. The result was something beautiful and strange, structures that looked like they belonged to both cultures and neither. Jiwoo stood in the central hub, watching Velkari engineers work alongside human technicians. They were installing a new heating system, one that combined human technology with Velkari understanding of their own biology. It would keep everyone comfortable, regardless of species. "They work well together," Subin said, joining her friend by the window. "I never thought I would see this. True cooperation between species." "Neither did I," Jiwoo admitted. "But look at them. They share tools. They share ideas. They share warmth." The cubs had grown, not much in size, but in confidence and skill. Yuna was no longer the shy, sick, little cub who had arrived that first night. She was energetic and playful, always making the human children laugh during the video lessons they shared. She had also discovered she loved music, especially human music. Jiwoo often found her listening to old Earth songs on a datapad. Teo had become fascinated with human technology. He spent hours learning about computers and communication systems. His dream was to become a translator, someone who could help humans and Velkari understand each other better. He was already learning 3 human languages. Hana was training to be a liaison officer. She attended every meeting between the 2 species, watching and learning. Elder Kolveth said Hana would one day lead diplomatic missions. She had the right temperament for it, calm and thoughtful. But they were still cubs. They still played and fought and made messes. They still needed warmth and comfort and someone to tell them bedtime stories. They were Jiwoo's children now, in every way that mattered. "How is your research going?" Subin asked. Jiwoo's face lit up. "Really well. We have made 3 major breakthroughs. First, the thermal implants. They are small devices we can place under the fur of Velkari cubs. They generate heat using the body's own energy, like an extra layer of warmth. Will they work? The first tests are very promising. Yuna volunteered to try one. Her core temperature has been stable even in the coldest areas. If we can produce enough, every cub in the colony could have one. That is incredible. Second, we have developed renewable heating systems for their underground homes. They use thermal energy from deep in the planet's core. Clean, endless, and powerful enough to heat entire cave systems. Subin whistled softly. That could save their entire species. That is the hope. And third, we are working on genetically modified plants that can grow in extreme cold. If we succeed, the Velkari could have sustainable food sources again. They would not have to rely on imported supplies. It was the work Jiwoo had dreamed of doing. Real, meaningful research that saved lives. And she could do it while raising the cubs because both communities supported her. When she needed to work long hours, other Velkari helped watch the cubs. When she needed to be with her children, her research team covered for her. Everyone shared the responsibility. Everyone shared the warmth. That afternoon, a transport ship arrived. It carried visitors from Earth, including a news crew. Word of the miracle colony had spread across human space. Everyone wanted to know about the station where humans and aliens lived together as family. Dae-hyun was not happy about the attention. "We are not a tourist attraction," he grumbled. "We are doing serious work here," but he agreed to let the news crew film for one day. They interviewed researchers, engineers, and several Velkari who had learned to speak directly to humans without translators. And, of course, they wanted to interview Jiwoo. The reporter was a young woman named Bo-ra. She seemed nervous being so close to aliens, but professional. "Tell us," Bo-ra said, holding a recording device. "How did this all start? How did you become the mother to 3 alien cubs?" Jiwoo thought about how to answer. The story had become legend, exaggerated, and changed with each telling. It was time to tell the truth. "It started with a jacket," she said simply. "I saw cold children, and I gave them my jacket. That is all. Nothing heroic. Nothing special. But it became special," Bo-ra pressed. "Your actions changed everything." "No," Jiwoo said firmly. "The cubs changed everything. They taught me about sharing, about community, about what really matters. I just gave them a jacket. They gave me a family." The cubs insisted on being part of the interview. They wanted to tell their side of the story. "The warmth keeper saved us," Hana explained to the camera. "But not just our bodies. Our hope. We thought all aliens would be cold, like our planet. But Jiwoo showed us warmth. Exists everywhere, if you share it," Teo added. "And we share everything she gives us. That is our way. When she gave us the jacket, we took turns. We still do that with everything. Her time, her teaching, her love. We take turns so everyone gets equal warmth." Bo-ra looked confused. "But surely a mother's love is not limited? Surely there is enough for all of you at once?" "There is enough," Yuna said wisely, sounding much older than her age. "But we share anyway, because sharing makes love grow." When I see Jiwoo hugging Hana, I feel happy because Hana is happy. That happiness is warmth too. So we all share, and warmth multiplies. Jiwoo felt proud listening to them. They understood things that many adult humans did not. The interview was broadcast across human space. Within days, messages poured into the station. Thousands of people wanted to help. They sent supplies, money, equipment, but more importantly, they sent stories. Stories of humans helping others, humans sharing what little they had, humans choosing kindness over survival, connection over isolation. The stories came from every colony, every station, every ship in space. Someone started calling it the Warmth Keeper Project. The idea was simple. If Jiwoo could give away her jacket and change everything, what could happen if everyone did the same? Not with jackets necessarily, but with whatever they could spare. Warmth came in many forms. The project spread like fire. Humans donated cold weather gear to refugee camps. They shared heating technology with struggling colonies. They opened their homes to displaced families. They remembered that warmth shared was warmth multiplied. Jiwoo's simple act had reminded humanity of something important. They had technology, and weapons, and ships that could cross galaxies. But their real power had always been their capacity for compassion. One evening, Elder Kolveth visited Jiwoo's quarters. The old matriarch rarely left the colony anymore, so this was a special occasion. "I wanted to tell you something privately," the elder said. "Before you came, our council was debating whether to continue, whether to bring new cubs into this cold world. Many thought it was cruel. that we should let our species end rather than watch our children suffer. Ji-woo felt a chill that had nothing to do with temperature. But then you arrived, the elder continued. You gave warmth to cubs not your own. You showed us that the universe has beings who care, even for strangers. You gave us hope, and hope is the warmest thing of all. I just wanted to help, Ji-woo said softly. That is why it mattered. You did not help for glory or reward. You helped because you saw need and responded. That is what warmth keepers do. That is what the best of any species does. The elder placed a claw hand on Ji-woo's shoulder. 12 new cubs were born in our colony last month. Their parents named them hope bearers. After the hope you gave us, those cubs will live because you gave away a jacket. They will grow because you showed us that survival is possible. That community with other species is possible. That warmth exists beyond our world, Ji-woo cried. She could not help it. 12 lives. 12 new children who would not have existed without that one simple choice. I want to meet them, she said. All 12. I want to know their names. You will, the elder promised. They are your clan now too. All Velkari cubs are. You are Kreshvara for all of us. Not just these 3. After the elder left, Ji-woo sat with her cubs in their sleeping nest. The thermal jacket hung on the wall where it always did. They had tried to clean it, preserve it, but it still showed wear. The fabric was thinner now. Some stitches had come loose, but it did not matter. The jacket had done its job. Not by keeping one person warm, but by teaching everyone what warmth really meant. Tell us a story, Yuna requested, snuggling close. What kind of story? A story about Earth, Teo said. About humans before they came to space. Ji-woo thought for a moment, then began. Long ago, humans lived in caves, much like your people do now. And it was cold. Very cold. They did not have fur like you. They did not have technology. All they had was each other. The cubs listened, purring softly, so they huddled together around fires. They shared food and shelter. They protected each other's children. And that warmth stayed with them, even when they left the caves, even when they traveled to the stars. It is still with us now. Farm, is that why you gave us the jacket? Hana asked. Because ancient humans taught you to share warmth? Maybe, Ji-woo said. Or maybe it is just what any person does when they see someone cold. Maybe warmth is not something we learn. Maybe it is something we are. The cubs purred louder, and Ji-woo felt the vibration in her chest. Her children, from another world, teaching her about her own humanity, showing her that the best of what humans could be was not their technology or strength, it was their capacity to care for others, to give warmth even when they had little to spare. Outside, the ice planet continued its endless winter. But inside, warmth grew and spread, not just in one station, but across worlds. Not just between humans and Velkari, but between all species who chose connection over isolation. The jacket remained on the wall, a symbol of what could happen when someone chose to give rather than keep, when someone chose warmth over cold. And the cubs continued to take turns keeping that warmth alive, sharing it with each other and with everyone they met. Because that was the way. The first law of survival. The most important lesson. We survive together, or not at all. The warmth we share is the warmth that saves us all.